San Diego and Southern California, what's going on?
If
you know. John and Jim with you. It is Thursday afternoon. We are 1 day away from the 1-year anniversary of San Diego Sports 760. That's why Jim will be in Philadelphia tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
So tomorrow's the 1-year anniversary of John and Jim. Jim's going to go to Philadelphia. We will be at the Blind Burrow. 1 year ago, time flies when you spend it with Jim.
Yeah.
It's been a year.
It's been a long year.
Has it though? It's funny. I have a theory on time. I don't know if I meant to start the show with
Einstein.
Brent's heard me with this take, I think. I don't know if Jim has.
All right, stop everything you're doing right now.
I have a theory on time.
Because John has a theory on time. Screw the Padres, Aztecs, anything on John's theory on time. Please explain.
All right, here's my theory on time. By the way, really good show today. We have tickets to give away to San Diego State football. We have tickets to give away to go see Jodeci and SWV, Summer Block Party. We have 3 really good guests for you. College football starts tonight, week 1 officially. Matt Bonesteel from the Washington Post will join us at 3:30. He makes weekly picks. He's got some picks for us coming up at 3:30. Here's my theory on time, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It's all about perspective. When you're 4, a summer feels longer than when you're 40 because you've only had 4 summers. Because when you're 40, you've had 40 summers. So like 1 day for a 4-year-old is a much larger percentage of their life than 1 day for a 40-year-old. Right? When you're 1 day is 1/365th of your life. When you're 40, it's 1/12,000th of your life. Do you like that?
If you know how long you're going to live.
But you get my point. It's like when we were kids, like summer felt like it lasted forever. The days were long. You'd be playing with your friends. Now it's like I go home, I eat dinner, I go to sleep. That's my theory on time.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. All right, here's where I want to start. The Mets today cleaned house.
Oh, did they?
This comes a month after the Mets said, we know who we are. We're finished. We're trading off pieces. A month later, their ownership group led by Steve Cohen determines this isn't good enough. We've spent like we should be good. We traded off pieces because we weren't good, and now we're starting over. We're going in a new direction. Now, did the Padres within the last 24 hours realize who they are? The reason I asked that, Jim, is there were all these angels on waivers, and there were people saying, hey, claim Lucas Giolito. Hey, claim Harrison Bader, right? And the Padres put in a claim for no one. So maybe there's this recognition that, hey, we know who we are at this point. We're 10 games under 500. But unlike the Mets, so yeah, you could be critical of the way the Mets have played this year. They've been as bad as the Padres, if not worse. But they were willing to say, this is who we are. What are we going to do about it? Where the Padres are still going down this path, and maybe it changed today without the waiver claims. They're going down this path. You're like, you're going down the wrong path. At least the Mets going down the wrong path have made the right decision. What decision have you made other than following something that's going to lead you to what? A 70-win season this year.
So, yeah, the Mets gutting their almost entire front office, like scouting and player development and, you know, a lot of people that I'm sure that have been there for a while or in prominent roles have been fired. So then I ask you, if the Padres did the exact same thing, okay? Exactly the same thing the Mets are doing right now, but kept AJ Preller.
Well, that's what the Mets are doing.
I know. Yep. So that's why I ask. Is that enough for you, Padres fans out there? 70470, start your message with team, or 844-570-1360. If the Padres do the exact same thing the Mets are doing, would you be okay?
Yeah, I love that question. At 844-570-1360, like you just said. It's like if you're willing to do here's an example, though. Here's the example, Jim. You're in a relationship that's bad. If the relationship is bad, is it really going to fix anything to spend an extra night going out per week and, you know, buying flowers and, you know, is that going to do anything, or is it just a bad relationship? Like, if you know you're going to part ways, are flowers going to save the relationship? Is a night at Addison? I hate to bring it so close to home because you're about to get married and you're going to Addison. So I'm not using you as an example.
There's nothing wrong with me and Aaron.
No, but you get my point. It's like, if you have a bad relationship, should you try to fix it, or do you just cut bait and part ways? So are the Padres in a spot where, like, is it salvageable by making all the changes other than the change that people want to be made? Like, can you salvage this thing by hiring a general manager under AJ Preller, changing scouting directors of player development, manager, making some changes with your 26-man roster, making changes in your minor league system? Is that going to be enough? Or to your point, I think it's a great question, 844-570-1360. Is that not enough considering where they are right now, which is going to be trending towards, 10, 15, 20 games under 500 at the end of the year?
I just think if you go in, and I'm looking right now at the Padres front office, if you get rid of guys in the Padres front office like Logan White, who is the director of player personnel, okay, that was what the Mets fired today in their organization. If they fired Logan White tomorrow, is that enough for you? Is enough for change?
Well, here's the one thing I'll say. Let me just to that point. I know nothing about Logan White. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm not advocating for Logan White to be relieved. I'm not advocating for the director of player development to change, for Bob Melvin to lose his job. I'm not advocating today. I don't even think you are as critical as you've been of AJ Preller. I don't think today you're arguing for him to lose his job. But we do know this. If this finishes like this, I mean, everyone I'm talking to is saying this and feeling the same way. Everyone, anywhere I go in San Diego, and they ask me about the Padres, like, change is coming, right? Mm-hmm. And I say, yeah, probably, but I don't know to what extent.
Like Josh Stein, Nick Ennis, Logan White, okay? If they all got wiped out, but AJ Preller was remaining, is that enough for you, Padres fans? Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the opposite is going to happen. I think people below them will be shuffled around and moved, and there will definitely you cannot have a Padres season, or any team with this much expectations and this much payroll invested into its roster has a season like this. There is no way in hell you go to an offseason and there's not changes.
Right, because there's a big difference. Like, if this was the A's and they go 70-92, you'd be like, all right, you know what? We actually accomplished things spending $40 million on our payroll. This is the opposite of the A's because the expectations are why, to use Ron Fowler's words, heads are potentially going to roll.
Like, are you going to get rid of Ron Rizzi, who is the senior advisor of scouting? Are you going to get rid of AJ Ellis, who is in the special assistant baseball operations department?
Well, what's this going to do?
James Keller, are you going to get rid of him? Special assistant to the general manager.
Well, what's this?
Alan Craig, baseball operations.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
No, that's my point. Is like, I'm naming off all of these names that are behind the scenes with the Padres, and it kind of seems like the Mets have done that today, where they've wiped out a lot of those types of people, right? But the general manager remains. And that would be AJ Preller. Is that enough for you? Is that good enough for you to have faith that this organization is going to turn it around, and not only turn it around, but be a consistent, winning, competent organization going into the future?
Isn't the Mets and the Billy Epler comp a good one? Because Billy Epler's been with the Mets since 2021. They had a good 2022, not perfect. They didn't win their division, but a very good 2022. And the wheels have completely fallen off in 2023. Now he's only been there 3 years. AJ Preller's been here 9. All right, let's go to the phones if you want to weigh in. Is it enough for you for changes if those changes don't include the general manager and the vice president of baseball operations in AJ Preller? 844-570-1360. Let's start with John on line 3. John, you're on with John and Jim, and thanks for calling in.
Hey, fellas. How's it going? Hope
good, man.
You're all doing well. I mean, big fan of the wrap-up show, so keep up the good work.
Thanks, John.
I think, you know what, I would be satisfied definitely with a change a little bit, but it all starts from the top ultimately. And I mean, Preller has been in this organization for almost 10 years now and only has one winning season. So, I mean, he really doesn't have much leg to stand on. And I think this hope and this whim and this prayer that we all hold deep in our Padres hearts, I think it's fleeting at this point, honestly.
Thanks for the call, John.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. And I just think, like, while John's right, the accountability of this franchise and the failures of not only this season, but seasons past, as recently as 2021, and I know 2022 happened. I'm not saying it didn't, but there's been more bad than good under AJ Preller, and the accountability it's going to be said, like he's going to say at the end of the year, it's my fault. But what does that truly mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that really do? How far can that go? Because he said it before. This won't be the first time that he said it's my fault. He said it after 2019. He said it after 2015. He said it after 2021. He's going to say it again after 2023. So how many more times is he going to be allowed to say it's my fault before it's enough's enough?
Yeah, the loyalty, the truth be told, I mean, if Peter Seidler does elect to stick with AJ Preller, and most believe that will occur, I mean, he's literally under contract through 2026, the loyalty will be a rarity across professional sports, not just baseball. I mean, to be given this many opportunities, and we won't even know if it's right or wrong necessarily because we don't know what happens in the future. But the fact that he's had as many opportunities as he has is incredible loyalty shown by Peter Seidler. And then you ask yourself, well, why is he showing this loyalty? What is it about AJ Preller that Peter Seidler sees that the fan base does not?
Well, I do think the fan base sees it. I just think that it's what's the word I'm looking for? Like more valued in that organization than it is by fans, because the fans care about the main thing, which is the Major League Ball Club. Okay. The San Diego Padres. I think that in that organization, with the amount of talent, and this is not saying that Preller hasn't done it, because he has accumulated a lot of talented players in this organization in the 9 years that he has been here. I think that is a shiny object distraction for why he is still here. Look at all this talent that AJ Preller has accumulated through the 9 years he's been here.
Yeah.
Right? You got last night Robbie Snelling throwing 5 hitless innings in the minors. You got Ethan Salas, who has got promoted to Double-A, 17 years old. Remember how many years we had the #1 farm system in baseball? You remember how many years Fernando Tatis Jr. came up to this organization?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
John,
you know?
I know.
Yeah, but I don't think Peter Seidler I don't think the reason he's going to retain AJ Preller is because of the talent he's amassed in the minor league system.
I think it is a reason why he will still be here.
But like when when Peter Seidler spoke with Kevin Acee, the only questions Kevin had for him were about the big league team. Like there's no way Peter is in this fake world where he believes that what's happening right now in the minor leagues is relevant to Padres fans. There is not one Padre fan, by and large, that cares at all that Ethan Salas has had a good year at the expense of what's going on in the major leagues. I mean, who cares? I hope he's a part of the future too. But if you're going to win 75 games this year, Ethan Salas' development does not make up for the disappointment in the big leagues. And someone has to be responsible for the big leagues. And ultimately, it's the general manager. He's responsible for it all. It's like a quarterback. And I'm arguing your point. Quarterbacks have win-loss records. Receivers don't. Nobody ever says.
It's so dumb.
Nobody ever says that, whomever received Jerry Rice's record as a Niner was this. They do about Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about a offensive lineman's record. They do talk about general managers because they're responsible for the win-loss record at the major league level. Nobody cares what their win-loss record is in Double-A.
But you know why I believe that it is a big factor to why he is still here and the extension that he has gotten? There have been so many times, and I don't have it in front of me, but there has been a lot of times that the quote, his eye for talent. You know how many times we've heard that from out of this organization? Well, Preller's eye for talent. How many times have we talked to people in the know that have talked to people around baseball talking about AJ Preller's eye for talent?
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm sure it's great.
But John, I know you have to agree that it is a reason, and it might not be a huge, massive reason, but it is a chunk of the reason why he is still the general manager of this team.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't, because I haven't had the conversation with Peter Seidler. Here's really the question that I'm wondering is, if AJ Preller was relieved of his duties, is he immediately hired as a general manager elsewhere?
Let me answer that for you.
Yeah, I don't think you can. You think the answer is abundantly clear to no?
I don't think he's getting a GM job right away. Hell no.
Well, I didn't say right away. I'm saying, will he be a GM again? I think the answer is yes, to be honest. I honestly think the answer is yes. I see him being a GM again if he's relieved of his duties. I don't think all of a sudden he finishes his career in scouting.
That's a great question. We've seen, Andy Green and Jace Tingler, they're just bench coaches. They're not managers. No one's going to be clamoring to get those guys to be managers anytime soon.
True. It's kind of different conversation, though. GM, manager, the rep of AJ Preller, the rep of Jace Tingler, rockstar GM. Jace Tingler, we had never heard of him.
Let me answer this way. I think a smart organization would not hire AJ Preller.
Yeah, you may be right. No, you may absolutely be.
A desperate one might hire AJ Preller.
I guess what I'm asking also is what does Peter Seidler see that, if your point is accurate and he doesn't get hired or doesn't get hired immediately, that the other 29 clubs see through? What does Peter see that the other clubs see through? You think it's because Peter has this, he's enamored with AJ's ability to find young talent.
Yeah.
That is the reason why he stays here despite a lack of winning at the major league level. Wouldn't you say then the priorities are kind of shifted? Wouldn't you prefer he doesn't have the eye for talent, but his club wins 90 games every year?
I would prefer that.
Right? Doesn't that seem like a better way to go about business?
I would. And look, AJ works probably harder than anybody. His work ethic. I can't say that. Work ethic is unmatched.
Sure, I agree.
It is,
no doubt.
It's beyond what I'm sure anybody could even imagine of doing.
No doubt.
He does have an eye for talent. There's no question about that. He has gotten some, the talent that's run through this organization that has gotten some players here has been amazing.
Agreed.
I'm sure there's other things that he has done that we don't see that is something that can be praised for sure.
Agreed.
End of the day, nobody cares.
Right, that's my point. Exactly.
I'm talking about fans.
But Peter cares.
I'm talking about fans. Yeah. I'm not talking about Peter.
But how long do you care? As in, does the eye for talent matter at the end of 2024?
No.
If you don't win,
it doesn't.
So at what point does it not matter for him?
For Peter?
For Peter.
I can't answer that because I don't know what Peter's thinking. But for the fans, I can, and for us,
and
anybody covering this team, we cover this team more than anybody. We don't care. We care about one thing, the major league club, and if they win. And if they don't, then that is the only reason why it should matter.
Yeah, like I've said literally for years, either here or on the wrap-up show, like they're not in the business of doing anything other than winning. Sometimes you feel bad saying that. They're not in the business of having great people. They're in the business of winning baseball games.
Yeah.
It's a very simple job that's not easy necessarily to execute. This is cut and dry, folks.
Yep.
You either win or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't and you have expectations in payroll, it's rare for there not to be consequences.
Yeah. And like I've met Peter before, I've met Peter before. I have in studio here, met AJ multiple times. Like there is nothing about what we are saying about these people that we're discrediting them as humans.
And not people. Personal at all.
No, this is the farthest thing from personal.
But it's all professional.
100%. This is the big boy leagues.
Yeah.
Okay. It's cut and dry, like you said. It doesn't matter about behind the scenes how great a person is, because I'm sure every single one of these people in this organization are great people. There's no doubt about it. But when you don't win, it's a business. Like that's how things work. And they're getting paid millions of dollars, and they're in charge of a multi-million, potentially billion-dollar organization to accomplish one thing and one thing only, and that's win a World Series. And if that's not even being close to accomplished, then things have to change.
And find someone that can do it. I agree with you. 844-570-1360. Let's take another call. Another John.
Oh, it's John. It's the John show today.
It's the John show. John, you're on with John and Jim. What's up, man?
Cadillac John. Happy birthday, dude.
Cadillac John, what's up?
Thank you for the birthday wishes.
Dude, you guys are amazing. I love you guys, Brent, all the time.
Appreciate it.
Guys, I got a question. What is the problem with Peter Seidler?
The what?
What if it's the boss? I mean, he's the one that picked AJ Preller and has kept him for 10 years.
Well,
what if the problem's the owner and he's just a bad owner?
Hey, thanks for the call, John. I'll answer that by saying Peter's not been the owner for 10 years. He's only been the majority owner since 2020.
Right, and even before that, when was the year they even purchased? That group made the purchase in what year? Has it been 10 years?
It was before
AJ,
because they hired AJ.
10 years.
But Ron was obviously the majority owner, and he was the mouthpiece, and he was the guy that was on all the radio shows talking about Darren knows more than anybody how that went.
Well, he's not a bad owner. He may have a flaw as an owner, but you'd much prefer, I've said this a million times, you'd much prefer the owner that's willing to spend than the owner that isn't.
Yeah. Peter, for his flaws, like you said, he is the exact type of owner that you want.
Yeah.
Because the alternative is John Fisher in Oakland, which is the worst owner
Right.
in
Or
all
I'll give
of
you
baseball.
a better comp is like the situation with the Rockies. They're in a large market in Denver and they just flounder and they make
Never
odd
will spend.
They don't spend. When they do it like Chris Bryant for a $200 million deal. Like, no, you want Peter Seidler as owner, but the question is, do you want AJ Preller as his GM moving forward? That's really the question for Padres fans. On the other side, tonight kicks off week 1 of college football. Huge game, by the way, between Florida and Utah in Salt Lake. Matt Bonesteel with the Washington Post has some week 1 picks for you. He'll join us on the other side. Also today, we will give away San Diego State football tickets. How many pairs do we have today, Brian? Do we have 1 pair or 2 pairs? We have at least a pair. We'll do it for Trainwreck Radio in the 4 o'clock hour. We also have tickets to give away to the Summer Block Party featuring Jodeci and SWV. That's coming up Sunday at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. But Matt Bonesteel, week 1 college football picks. It all kicks off official here tonight in college football. He'll join us next on John and Jim. beating Ohio at Snapdragon Stadium. But week 1 is here. Huge games this weekend, including tonight, by the way. Florida on the road at Utah, taking on the Utes in Salt Lake at 5 o'clock Pacific. Matt Bonesteel makes picks for the Washington Post. He's with us right now. John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Matt, we appreciate it. I read your article earlier today with some of your weekend picks. I don't think you mentioned the game between Florida and Utah, but I'd ask for your opinion regardless. Utah at home.
Well, I do know with all the injury news to Utah quarterback Cameron Rising, the line has really sort of moved all around. You know, it was up there, it was like Utah 7.5, 7, 6.5, and it kept going down and down as Rising's injury sort of became more apparent, and now he doesn't look like he really is going to play. I think it got down to like 4.5, and then the buybacks started coming in. They said, look, you know, Utah's got this great defense, and Florida, you know, didn't show a whole lot last season, and what they did was with a guy at quarterback who's now playing for the Colts. So I think there's been some adjustments that people were waiting for that line to get down a little bit and then get back on Utah to bring it up. So it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, you know, Florida never travels outside of bowl games and SEC games. So this is going to be something new for our program that is still a little in disarray. So Utah's been there. Utah has been up there for a long time now. So it's an interesting matchup. One of the better games of the weekend so far.
And Matt, I think the best game of the weekend, you can disagree if you like, but I think the best game of the weekend, 2 top 10 teams facing off, number 5 LSU versus number 8 Florida State in Orlando Sunday. What's your opinion on this one?
I think we're going to see some points. I mean, you got the 2 of the better quarterbacks in the country, 2 really exciting guys, and Jane Daniels for LSU and Jordan Travis for Florida State. You know, these guys have showed last year that they can really carry their teams on their back. And these two teams didn't show. I mean, they both had pretty good seasons last year, but if there was one weakness, it was defense. You know, Florida allowed you know, chunks of you know, a lot of yardage on the ground, and that's where Daniels can really hurt them. And then, you know, LSU gives up a lot of big plays, like, you know, big play, you know, big scrambling plays from the quarterback. I mean, passes. And Florida State also added a wide receiver named Keon Coleman from Michigan State. He's huge. He's like 6'6". And that is just going to give him one more weapon to use. So I think we're going to see some points. I played the over. I think I got 56.5. Well, the numbers actually come down, so it moved against me. You can even get a better number now, I think. So, yeah, I think there's going to be some points.
Matt Bonesteel, Washington Post, with us right now on John and Jim. Week 1 is here. We're looking at some of the matchups and some of the picks that Matt has made here today at the Washington Post website. So there are some huge favorites. Not every game is a great game, obviously, in week 1. You have a lot of non-conference games. Number 11, Texas, hosting Rice as a 35-point favorite. I think it was JFK like 60 years ago that said, why does Rice play Texas? As an example of, like, we can get to the moon. I mean, Rice theoretically could beat Texas. 35 points just in general is a huge number. Are you comfortable with Texas even with that big number?
I am. I mean, except for Bijan Robinson, the Longhorns return basically everyone that carried them to a pretty good. I mean, an okay year. They lost a bunch of close games to the good teams they played. So I'm actually really high on Texas this year as a whole. I think with a quarterback like Quinn Ewers, it gets all its receivers back, it's all of its offensive line, a lot of the defense. You know, this is a team that could be better than they were last year, and this is a team that beat Rice 58-0 last year. So, you know, Rice, you can never really expect Rice, despite what JFK once said, to hang tough with Texas. I guess they got it to the moon, but I don't know if they can beat Texas. So, you know, they brought in JT Daniels, who's now on his 4th team after being at USC in Georgia and West Virginia. And I guess he won't be rattled because he's already played 2 games at Texas with 2 different teams. So this is his 3rd game at Texas. So he'll know what to expect. I mean, it's going to be hot. It's going to be like 100 degrees. I mean, the only thing that could save Rice as far as the point spread is, you know, Texas taking the foot off the gas. But, you know, look at the quarterbacks they have behind them, including Arch Manning, who could get some run if things get, you know, out of hand or whatever. So, you know, I think Texas is just too much. Big home favorites, especially early in the season, especially against other FBS teams, are usually pretty solid selections despite all those points. So, yeah, I'm going with the big number. I'll take Texas.
Matt, we've got a Mountain West team. We're the home of the Aztecs here, so we definitely keep an eye on the Mountain West. You got Texas Tech at Wyoming this weekend. Cowboys are getting 14 points at home. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, I think Texas Tech is getting a little more hype than they should this early in the season. They went 8-5 last year, but they have the statistical body of work that said they were probably more like a 6-win team. So I think people saw their record last year and they brought a lot of players back. They go in, they're an analytical. Texas Tech goes for it on fourth down like all the time, like nearly all the time, unless it's really stupid to do so. So, you get a lot of analytical love for the Red Raiders. This is a team that got pretty lucky with turnovers and pretty lucky with other teams sort of falling on their faces last year. And now they have to go to Wyoming, which is just, it's not a big, Lubbock is actually pretty elevated too. So it's not like the usual advantage Wyoming will have with the elevation up there. But I still think that defense, the goal up there in Wyoming, his defense is always going to be ready. The offense was awful last year, but if you get a defense that can just sort of, keep the Red Raiders sort of stuck a few times right at the start of the game, and then, grind out the clock, use a lot of time, I think they can keep this within 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Wyoming's the pick there.
Matt Bones still with the Washington Post with us right now, making some week 1 picks. Ohio State, Indiana. This game is in Bloomington, right? And Ohio State is a huge favorite, which isn't a surprise. Something like 29 or 30 points. The total somewhere around 59 or 60 points. How do you see this one unfolding?
I like the Ohio State team total over 44.5. They're another team that, like Texas, they basically lost CJ Stroud to the NFL. But they bring back everyone else. They got 2 running backs in Henderson and Hayden, and 3 running backs, who can just, they don't, there's really no hard decision for them. They just sort of hand it off to one of them and they just go. And then Marvin Harrison and Iguka at wide receiver, who are also both great. So, there's just too much skill for Indiana. They were terrible on defense last year, and now they are completely rebuilding their defense. 13 of 16 players who had at least 300 snaps are gone. So this is not something you want to see in your first game. You're a Big Ten team. Usually, you want to see, you want to play Ball State your first game. You don't want to play Ohio State. So I think Ohio State should steamroll them on the road. Indiana, it's not going to be much of a home field advantage. I'm sure Ohio State's going to have a ton of fans there. And okay.
And Matt, finally for you, any thoughts on San Diego State? Coming off a 7-6 year, Ohio in week 0. But do you think they could surpass their win total from last year this year?
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not really thought much about San Diego State.
Come on, Matt. Come on.
I know it seems like the program's always there. That's what I can say. And the winning in the first week is a big deal. It's motivation to keep going, and it's just I wish I could say more about San Diego State.
Maybe next week. Next week,
being honest.
Next week, take a look at San Diego State. Yeah. San Diego State, UCLA next week in San Diego.
Yeah, have me on again. I will phone up on San Diego State.
Deal. That sounds great. Yeah, great picks. We appreciate it. Enjoyed the article. Thanks for doing it today, and we'll be in touch soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, Matt Bonesteel from the Washington Post, who doesn't know anything about the Aztecs, but I appreciate the honesty. To be honest,
to his credit, he picks out certain games.
Yeah, exactly. There's 133 FBS teams.
He's not focused on every single game. He's focused on certain games that he picks out for his picks.
But it's hard to imagine that there's a sports writer at the Washington Post that doesn't dedicate their time to San Diego State.
I think
he's at the Washington Post.
I think you should write a letter to the head sports editor at the Washington Post about this very thing, John.
It just surprises me because there's so much time spent on San Diego State sports content.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
In the Washington Post. All right. There was something said yesterday in a Major League Baseball clubhouse that you're not hearing in the Padres clubhouse. You will hear that interaction on the other side. Plus, still ahead, we'll give away Aztec tickets in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll give away Jodeci and SWV tickets in the 5 o'clock hour. That is Sunday, by the way, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. San Diego State's special teams coordinator, he's done an amazing job. Doug Deakin, always one of the best special teams units in the country. He'll join us off the practice field at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, since he never joins us during Sports Wrap, will join us on the show
How
from
about time,
NBC7.
slacker?
He's going to join us from Petco Park at 5:30 as he gets ready and we get you ready for the Padres and the Giants. Oh, by the way, Padres are playing tonight. First of a 4-game series against the Giants.
There's so much time left, dude. It's only August.
It is amazing.
Oh,
all right. You're going to hear something from Major League Baseball, a clubhouse in baseball that you're not hearing from the Padres clubhouse. We'll share that with you next. Stay with us. All right, developing news out of the Padres getting set for the Giants tonight. The update on Yu Darvish, I think, is a very good one, at least temporarily. He's got a bone spur per Bob Melvin, and we'll get a cortisone shot. Now, here's the thing with bone spurs. There's guys that if you're in like if the season isn't over, which it is, I would never bring Yu Darvish back. But if it wasn't over, you can return from a bone spur, you get a shot, and you can pitch with it. This is not Tommy John. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Yu Darvish, but there's a big difference between a bone spur, which you can pitch with and get a shot, and missing a season if you're Yu Darvish. So that's really encouraging. That's A, or 1. B, or 2. That's how it works. That the letters of the alphabet go A, B, and the numbers go 1, 2.
Okay. Yeah,
2.
I know.
That should be a gym fact.
Yeah, gym fact.
Congratulations, gym fact.
2 or B, Robert Suarez is done appealing. The whole sunscreen with long sleeves never made any sense.
Maybe he should have started his appeal 2 games ago. Maybe they would have won.
True. So he will begin his 10-game suspension, which means nothing, really, since the season's over regardless.
Some more days off the calendar to knock off.
Yeah, so his suspension begins today. Yu Darvish could still pitch again this season. There's no reason to. I think this is, if there's been any positive news recently, the fact that he's not having Tommy John and it's a bone spur and a cortisone shot is at least a positive.
And that's what Darren talked about today on his show, that, he heard that things looked good on the Darvish front. We were worried. I don't think, were you worried about this?
I wasn't worried, man.
Of course you weren't. I was worried.
I was worried about dinner.
I know you were.
My 4-year-old.
I was like, okay, when you start throwing out words, Tommy John, and he's going to see that exact same specialist that performed his Tommy John surgery, and he's getting now, imaging done on that elbow. Like, I am freaking out. And if I'm the Padres, I'm also freaking out, because if you lose Darvish for next season, bro, that's going to make next year just even more. It's going to make it way harder, and to find pitching in the offseason and all this stuff. So good news on Darvish theoretically, and then the Suarez thing is like, okay, whatever. I mean, he wasn't helping your team much anyway. I know he was the setup man for Josh Hader, but I mean, he's not having a good season. He's not doing what a setup man should be doing to get to Josh Hader. So it'd have been an adventure every time he's out there. So yeah, if I'm the Padres, and I know that it was reiterated today by Bob Melvin, like, hey, there's a chance, bro. There is no chance. I am not letting Darvish touch a field, touch a bullpen, touch a baseball. You are rehabbing and getting yourself ready for next season, because at this point in time, next year is what matters most this year.
Well, here's the other thing. I'll take it way further than that. My September, and this is going to be hard to do, but I mean, Xander, if he's got something with this wrist, do it in September. Manny, if you've got something with the elbow, sit in September. I'm not fearful of going to some of my players in my system and calling them up, recalling them, whatever it is, and sitting guys in September if it makes sense for 2024. So it's not, Darvish, of course. Musgrove, of course. I think it's less of an of course with Bogaerts and Machado, but I would absolutely consider it if I think it's better for 2024. And oh, by the way, as I look at Tank for Tua, the Padres are only 3 games ahead of having the 6th worst record in baseball. If they can get in that top 6 bad teams, they keep their pick. I think they have no motivation to win any games in the month of September. I think they have none. They can tell us otherwise. They got no motivations to do anything involving winning from here on out. That's the truth. See how they play it.
Tell me if you agree with this. Is it better for this team, potentially long-term, for September to look like August?
Right. So is it better if they tank?
Like, is it better if they just bottom out here? Now, I said this early in the year. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing if this team just sneaks into the postseason with like 84, 85 wins.
Don't worry.
They won't.
Right.
But you get my point. Is I don't know if that's good for the future of the team, because that could be viewed as like, well, hey, we made a run and we made the postseason. Right. Everything's fine.
But now that's not possible.
It's not going to happen.
So now it doesn't even matter. So,
But
okay.
if you have a good, just hear me out. You have a good September. It doesn't mean anything, but you have a good record in September. Okay. You finish with, what are they at right now? 68? No,
they're 10 games under 500. They would have to go down the stretch. They got to go 19. No, they got to go 20 and 9 to finish over 500.
Okay. 62 and 72. Say they win 18 of the remaining whatever games.
And win 80 games?
And win 80 games.
Does nothing for me.
Does nothing for you.
Literally nothing.
Nothing for you.
No.
No. Doesn't do anything for me.
I'm with you.
But I'd
rather win 8.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'd rather them bottom out here because I don't want any type of, well, look at how we finished or did this.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that. This is a failure, no matter what they do in September. I don't care if they win every game in September, which if they did, they might sneak in, but that's not happening. This whole thing is a disaster, okay? You need to bottom out here. Like you said, you need to get a top 6 pick.
It would be, that's the best case scenario.
And bottoming out, like truly bottoming out, would potentially force, maybe, I don't know, real wholesale changes.
Maybe. I you know what? I don't even know if it's necessary. Like that's always the point we've made. Like if they win 72 or if they win 80, does that even matter? Does that at all matter?
I hope it doesn't.
It should not matter.
I hope it doesn't.
Yet every single night I look up and the Padres are a favorite. Every night. Yeah. Every night, including tonight at home against the Giants, who maybe have a bullpen game or whatever they're doing. But Pedro Avila has been pretty good, coming off of not a good outing.
Hey, John, did you know that if the Padres sweep the Giants this weekend, give me a break. Stop it. Anybody out there clamoring and saying that this team just can do this to get back in, it's over. It's done. Don't listen to that person. It's over. I don't care what they do this weekend. I don't care. Stop it.
Playoff chances are up to 1.2%. They were 1.1% yesterday.
Nope, it's done.
So a very good day.
Nope, it's done.
No, they have a 1.2% chance.
And I have a 1.2% chance of
No, you don't. Not winning the lottery.
Not winning the lottery, but finding $20 on the ground.
Probably true. Real quick, by the way, it's a big if the Padres held on to those leads in games 2 and 3 against the Cardinals,
they're 5.5.
They would have gained 2 games.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But they lost those games.
I don't think it would have mattered anyway.
No, it wouldn't. Of course not. All right. On the other side, hour 2 of John and Jim still ahead. Darnay Tripp, NBC 7. He will join us at 5:30 from Petco Park. San Diego State Special Teams Coordinator Doug Deakin will join us coming up at 5:15 off the practice field. Hour 2 on the other side, we'll give away some San Diego State football tickets for Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium in the 4 o'clock hour. Stay with us. It's John and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Soapy Joe's Car Wash. It's good, clean, fun. Padres return home tonight after a 1-5 road trip to take on the Giants, starting for a 4-game series. 6:40 first pitch. Pedro Avila on the mound for the Padres. News out of Petco Park today. Good news on Yu Darvish, just a bone spur in his elbow. And bad news on Robert Suarez. He's ending his appeal. He will officially start his 10-game suspension starting tonight. And the Aztecs 1-0 on the year. Game 2 of their season at Snapdragon Stadium this Saturday versus Idaho State. 7:30 kick. 5:30 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Turn your car wash routine into a singing sensation with Soapy Joe's Car Wash Karaoke. They're giving you the chance to win a full year of free washes by participating. This offer is for the first 500 participants who submit 10 songs before September 30th. Details at soapyjoescarwash.com.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 2 of John and Jim. If you know, you know. Doug Deakin is San Diego State Special Teams Coordinator. He will join us coming up at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, NBC7 from Petco Park. He will join us coming up at 5:30. This hour, we'll give away San Diego State tickets for Saturday. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of San Diego Sports 760. That's why Jim will be in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here.
Does that mean tomorrow is the day we can officially stop saying
all new?
Yeah, right, John?
Within the next year or two, I'll stop saying
You said
it.
1 year would be the all new.
But like in the grand scheme of like the history of the world, 1 year is nothing. Like dinosaurs haven't been here for hundreds of millions of years.
So let me ask you this. When
now he's back on, well, if you're a baby, you've only lived 1/3 of your life.
When you're for Jones, when he turned 1,
he's all new.
Did you introduce him to other people as my newborn Jones?
Probably. It's kind of like when you have a puppy, you keep saying it for the first couple of years, and then you're like, oh, it's a dog.
I don't know. I'm waiting for the 3 months so I can be like, no, she's a year.
She's a year.
So I
She's
don't have
no
to think how many
longer a
weeks
puppy.
or
Right.
months she is. Yeah.
You don't say
What
like
was
a
the question?
7-year-old dog's a puppy.
Oh, will we still say? Now, here's the thing. I'm the only one that says it, probably.
I know. That's why I was asking you directly.
You are. No one else on the station
Everyone
does.
else gave up on that.
Big Rich, TD, and
months ago.
Fletch, Darren and Marty, Jonathan,
Yeah, but
me.
if other people
Brent.
if other people do drugs, does that mean I should do drugs? If other people jump off buildings, should I be jumping off buildings?
Why do you have to go like so doom and gloom?
I don't know. I've been doing that
You're
this
like,
week.
if like plane crashes,
Should I crash my
should I
plane?
crash my plane? Should I just jump off a cliff?
1 year
Should I do hard
anniversary.
drugs?
1 year anniversary, and Jim is just like, forget about it. I don't need to be here.
Forget
for that.
about it.
I'm gonna go to Philly. I'm taking in Bryce Harper's at home. Eagles opening day is coming. The Commanders will be here in 10 days. Is that who it is? I don't even know who they open up.
No, I'm not doing that. That's
Flyers training camp is underway.
That's not the reason why I'm going back east.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I can't wait though, because I've only been back east that far.
That far. I mean, you're not going to like the Far East. Although that would be the other way.
You are
The
on
Eagles
one
opened
today.
The Patriots.
Oh, thank you.
You're on the road though, Jim. You'd have to go to New England.
Darn it.
So wait, this is the furthest east you've been as a human, correct?
Correct. I was
Never been to Europe?
No. Where I was going with this, before you said
Yeah.
I'm an idiot,
Mm-hmm.
is I can't wait to have fresh bagels back from the East Coast.
So your big thing is I'm going to go to Philadelphia to have fresh bagels
There's a bagel shop by our house
in Jersey.
in Jersey. Like pork roll, egg, and cheese. Amazing. On a everything bagel.
Here's the deal. Why don't you just bring some equipment, stay out there for a couple of years? We could do the show remote.
I just,
and you just keep eating your bagels, stay up late, watch the Padres. We'll talk Padres.
Okay.
You can be sitting there in like your Eagles boxers.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah.
Okay, here's what we're
No.
going to do this hour. Here's what we're going to do. Trainwreck Radio will give away the Aztec tickets.
It's already
Next
started.
hour, we are going to give away tickets to see Jodeci and SWV at the Summer Block Party. We'll get you ready for Padres Giants if you'd like us to get you ready for that. Darnay Tripp will join us at 5:30 right now. Let's get to this.
Are you surprised the Padres are favored tonight against the Giants?
No, because for some weird reason, Vegas loves the Padres, and they've loved them all year long, even though they're 10 games under 500. Why I do think they're still favored in these games is because they still have these big names out there playing for them. You know, why this season also is so frustrating is, and they can't use this excuse. They've been relatively healthy all year long. The big four have been relatively healthy. Machado missed some time in there. Tatis obviously missed the start of the year, but Soto, Bogarts, they've both been in the lineup all the time. You're not, Gary Sanchez, once he signed here, has been in the lineup most of the time. They have not dealt with major injuries. I know Musgrove's been on and off, but that's why I think that they're still favored in these games, is because they have the big names still in the lineup.
I don't fully get it. I mean, I understand your point, and I do get that point, but they've been so consistently bad. 6-16 in their last 22. San Francisco's literally playing for their lives. Padres are not. The Giants have not been good, although have played well recently. They've won 3 of their last 4 against Atlanta and Cincinnati coming in. I kind of get it. The Padres aren't a heavy favorite. They're minus 130. But, man, Giants have something to play for.
I know.
The Padres have, golf to play for, but in 5 weeks.
But I'm telling you, Vegas looks and they go, oh, they got Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts in the lineup.
I don't know if that's how Vegas works. I think Vegas works on starting pitching matchups, and I don't know.
I think it does make a little bit of a difference. Those names.
Why don't we get a bookie on to talk about it?
Okay.
Next question.
Another one. The ACC is voting tomorrow on the possible additions of Stanford, Cal, and SMU. What do you guys think they'll decide?
That it will happen. I think it will. I mean, the ACC has been left out of the conference realignment talk, and you got a couple teams out there that are looking to enter a Power 5, and it would be if you're going to Stanford, the amount of that travel is a joke. It's a joke. Same thing with Cal. Across country for all of these games, for all of your sports athletically, that's, I don't know, man. That's a tough ask for me right there. But yeah, I think it's going to go through tomorrow because they want to be part of the realignment game.
Now, are they going to be included as a group, or is there a chance they could come in tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, we voted and Stanford, Cal, welcome, SMU kick rocks?
Yeah, there's definitely that possibility. And by the way, ESPN wrote something this afternoon that says there's no guarantee here. Nobody fully knows. If they get 4 no votes, it's a no. And right now there's 4 no votes. That's why this has taken literally weeks. So will someone flip? The reason to do it is the ACC makes more money because these schools coming in would take less money, and the schools that are in would share that pot. But the reason not to do it is Jim's point. Not only do Cal and Stanford have to travel the country, does Florida State football really want to play in conference a game in Northern California? Do they want to, in the midst of their season, play a game every year, either at Cal or at Stanford? I know the answer to that. It's no.
Yep.
Would they do it for more money? I guess maybe. But this isn't a guarantee, and it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Yeah. Next question.
Were you impressed by the 92,000 fans attending a women's volleyball match at the University of Nebraska?
Yeah, because if you look, I think Richard Deitch today on social media put out viewership numbers on television, because this was also broadcasted, I believe, on the Big Ten Network.
What word did you just say there? Brent, did you hear what I heard?
Viewership?
I don't know. I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear the P.
Oh, did I admit?
I think I heard it was T.
Oh, sorry. I thought I said viewership. Did I say something?
Okay, wait. So was this game nationally? What was that on Big Ten Network?
I think it was on Big Ten Network.
Okay.
And they said they had over 500,000 people watching that,
and 100,000 people there, or 92,000 people.
It officially became the largest I believe, the largest women's sporting event.
Most attended sporting event for a women's event in the history of the world.
Yeah. Now, does World Cup? I don't think World Cup counts, right?
No, I think has there ever been 92,000 people for a women's World Cup match? It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
They are obviously the 92,000 people proves it, but they're volleyball crazy in Nebraska. They're like super into it.
And it's like a cool spectacle, obviously, to do it at the football stadium.
Like at Florida State, it's like all football, and then basketball's secondary. Nebraska volleyball is like right up there with football.
Wild,
they get
dude.
really into it.
Yeah, I mean, 92. It looked like a football game. Students,
it looked like WrestleMania or something.
Yeah.
Because they had the court in the middle, and then they had all the people around it.
It was cool.
I mean, good on them. I wish that was the case out here. It's just not.
92,000 people for a volleyball match
in Nebraska. They'll fly. If this was USC and UCLA, there's no way they would fill the Rose Bowl and get.
I agree with that.
It shows you how different the sports culture with fans are here in Southern California, in San Diego, to in Nebraska for a women's volleyball match.
Well, in Nebraska, all that matters is the University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
It is their pro team. And there's other states like that. I mean, Nebraska, everyone wears red, right? In the entire state. So just the passion for the Huskers runs so deep, but that is impressive. 92,000 for a women's volleyball match against Omaha.
I tell you what,
incredible.
You know who is
come on, Omaha travels well.
Right,
That's why Peyton Manning always shout them out.
You know who was kind of like not happy with the 92,000 fans last night for the women's volleyball match in Nebraska?
Who's that?
Matt Rule. He's like, I have to follow that.
Yeah, good point.
Like, I better be good or else I'm screwed.
We got to win.
We gotta win now.
Program.
That's right. Following the jackass he's taking over for, he'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Next question.
Are you guys upset the Padres didn't put a waiver claim in on Lucas Giolito?
What?
Yeah, I know. Breaking news. They didn't.
This is what?
So
I am so mad. I am fabricating anger. I am having false anger. I am so upset.
No, I'm glad, because I just think they're a month too late to admit that what they did at the trade deadline, they quasi went for it. Now, with these waiver possibilities, they didn't even put in a claim because they kind of know who they are.
Good.
If you put in a claim, maybe you have false hope that you could accomplish something in 2023. The truth is, it just shows, obviously, they erred at the deadline. It's not the biggest mistake in franchise history, unless it is. Yeah. If you could have gotten a lot for either Blake Snell or Josh Hader. This goes back to the original conversation from 3 p.m. The Mets looked themselves in the mirrors and said, this isn't good enough. Let's get pieces back and let's think about our future.
Right.
Where the Padres tried chasing something down that is not realistic at all. And finally, a month later, they're realizing maybe the error of their ways.
And in the chat, Miles asked, weren't the Guardians ahead of the Padres? Actually, it was the opposite.
Correct. Padres would have had him because the Padres have a worse record.
Padres had a claim ahead of the Guardians, which is the team that claimed Lucas Giolito and the reliever from the Angels.
But again, it's like, why would you? I mean, okay, because you got injuries to Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, you're going to go take on salary for September to try to win. When I'm arguing, and you are as well, it's better served for the Padres. I know this seems counterintuitive, but this is how sports work. You don't want to finish with the 14th best record or 13th worst record. You want to finish as low as you can. I hate to say it, but this team put themselves in this spot. They're 10 games under 500. All that matters right now is like finishing this off
and make sure no one gets hurt for next year.
Right.
Like that's the number one goal this September is finish out the year without any major injuries to your main players that would affect them heading into next year.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly pitchers.
Yep.
But anybody else, nobody can get hurt. That's the number one thing. And that's why, to your point, you might want to start giving these guys a good amount of rest here, because Bob has talked about it a lot and complained about it, how, and this goes back to the roster construction, how they have like literally no depth. He has not been able to give his top guys days off like at all.
They play every day.
They play all the time. I want to say Bogarts and Soto are like one of the league leaders in games played this year.
And Tatis really hasn't sat since the suspension.
And I know he talked today, and I saw Darnay there, and he mentioned how his body feels good. I mean, doesn't look like his body feels good because it doesn't look like he is, getting better. He's getting worse as the season goes on. But anyway, you are probably going to see, and I hope this happens, days off for these guys down the stretch, and not just like pinch hit, not just like DH days, like legitimate, like you're out of the lineup days.
Yeah, I take it even further than that and say that, listen, if Manny Machado misses the final 15 games of the year because he can't throw a baseball,
yeah, you're done.
Then you got to be willing to put him on the IL, and play someone from AA or AAA. If Xander Bogaerts needs an operation or something done to his wrist
do it now
to put him in a better spot for 2024, then just do it. It's at some point you punt. When it's 4th and 26, you can't go for it.
Unless you're the Ravens against the Chargers.
Okay, maybe you can.
Or Jim's Eagles against the Packers.
Exactly. Freddie Mitchell's catch.
Mitchell.
But that was 4th and 26.
Yeah.
So the point is it's 4th and 26. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it August 31st, but if September 9th rolls around or 19th, you don't have to keep doing this because you want to draw 42,000 at home every single game. You got to be thinking what more than one eye has to be on your future in 2024 and positioning yourself.
It has to be. Do you think we're going to hear from Peter or AJ before the season ends?
Before the season, I wouldn't think at this point we really would. I mean, maybe like a Marty with AJ on the field during a BP situation, like nothing really formal. Maybe he would speak for a couple of minutes to someone like Marty, but I don't think we'll have like a press conference that they would speak before, unless it has to do with Bob Melvin's future or changes in the front office. So that's the only circumstance. I don't think they speak unless there's a reason to speak because of change.
And the Mets did not wait. They have not waited. They made quick, decisive moves when they knew this ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
Deadline, Scherzer, Verlander, payroll, you're gone.
Yep.
Give us the top prospects. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
Waivers done. Front office, wipe it out. Everybody that we've deemed to be a problem, gone.
I honestly, the reason you do it now and not later is like you're getting ahead of it.
That's what I was saying.
You can set yourself up. This happens a lot of times in college athletics. You get rid of someone to put you in position to get the person you want. And if you wait on it and others come off the board, all of a sudden, I'm making it up. This isn't a perfect example right now. But if the Mets had fired their GM and brought in Theo Epstein, be like, well, hold on. Maybe the Padres would have had that opportunity if they moved on. Mm-hmm. So I think that's sometimes the motivation to move. You get a little bit of a head start. And the Mets clearly have been motivated to turn things around moving forward and get their ducks in a row because this hasn't worked for them.
Whose future do you have more faith in?
The Mets or the Padres?
Mets, the Padres.
I don't know. And I'm not like, I don't know enough about where the Mets are going with this. But I do give them credit for knowing who they are. And that's where we've been critical of the Padres. Like, who are you? You've got like one eye on we can still do it with this team.
The false hope.
Not this year, but you've got this is the core we can do it with. And then you have the other eye where the fan base is like, blow this thing up, bring in a new GM, see if he can help fix it, keep the payroll under Peter, and see if we can better position ourselves. So that's where it's weird. I don't know who's got a better future. It's not like the Mets have any history. But they're going to spend, and the decisive action to me, I give them credit for that. That's the thing that when I look at it from the outside, I'm like, man, it's kind of nice to see that type of decisiveness, and you kind of wish maybe the Padres were following something similar.
I agree with you. That's why I asked the question. It's like, I think I would have more respect, and I would be way more on board if they said, yeah, enough's enough. This ain't it. Instead of trying to chase something that has never come this year. Like, think about, it's crazy to think, John, they've had one walk-off win this season.
Yeah, like day 2.
They've had one walk-off this year. I don't even know how many times they've been they got walked off the last 2 nights. I don't even know how many times they've been walked off this season.
Well, they've lost 11 times in exters. So anytime they've lost on the road in extras would be a lot.
So
at least a handful.
A handful of times. Mm-hmm. Okay. There is nothing redeemable about this team. It's been all season long. They're not going to go have a 4-game winning streak. And the Mets decided when at the trade deadline, we're not chasing something that we don't feel is there. And I truly think if the Padres took that mentality, I think the fan base would have respected it. And I think they would have said, we understand.
I think a majority of them would. I think you'd have some people that were upset in the moment.
Yeah.
But I think what matters most is being honest.
And it's about reading the room, and it's about knowing who you are. And that Padres aren't that. They don't read the room well. They don't know who they are. It feels like they're chasing things that aren't there. And it's turned out to be an absolute disaster.
But maybe today is the beginning of a understanding. And the reason I say that is they made no claims on any of these Angels. Maybe they're willing to say, this is over. How are we going to better position ourselves in 2024? And we haven't heard from Peter Seidler. We don't know what he's thinking. We're led to believe he's thinking AJ's going to be back.
How do you feel? Because we're talking about signs of like they understand. Okay. How do you feel about Matt Carpenter hitting 6th tonight in the lineup?
I'm completely fine with it. 100%.
Okay?
Anything they do from here on out, I'm 1,000% on board.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I don't
Yeah.
care. It doesn't matter. I'm just pointing to that as like,
Yeah.
if they were truly believing that they're,
Right.
hey, we could have a miracle run. You're not hitting Matt Carpenter.
Right.
6th.
You got Carpenter in there. Matt Batten, I'm sure, is in there.
He's
Trent
actually
Grisham's
not
in there.
He's actually not.
Batten's
Oh
not
wait,
in
no,
the
he is in there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm like,
yes.
they don't have anyone else to play.
And he's had like a great
Yeah.
couple last games. But
So
yeah,
that's I know I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm fine with when they start sitting guys again. I'll say it, and I'm honest when I say it. I really believe this. They should do everything in their power to not try to win in September. I hate to say that. It seems kind of anti-sport, but I'm telling you, it's what's better for the organization.
making sure that your top guys are healthy is my main goal for September. I don't care if you win every game. I don't care if you lose every game. You have to make sure that those top guys are healthy first and foremost.
And I want to be talking about the MLB lottery and having one of those top 6
my
picks. I want to talk
gosh.
lotto balls.
Yes.
Coming up this October.
Lotto balls.
All right. On the other side, you heard something yesterday in a Major League Baseball clubhouse you're not hearing a lot of in San Diego. We'll share that with you on the other side. Plus, still ahead, your chance to win tickets to see San Diego State, Idaho State on Saturday. Aztec special teams coordinator Doug Deakin, who played at San Diego State, one of the best special teams coordinators in the nation, will join us at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, NBC 7, joins us at 5:30. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, what you're hearing around baseball that you're not hearing in the Padres clubhouse, plus your chance to win Aztec tickets for Saturday next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Soapy Joe's Car Wash. Padres Giants start a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. Padres are now 10 games under 500 after their 1-5 road trip. 6:40 first pitch. Pedro Avila on the mound for the Padres. Other news with the Padres today. Good news and bad news. The good news is Yu Darvish, after getting his elbow checked out by his Tommy John surgeon, found just bone spurs. He is going to be shut down for the foreseeable future. Bad news, Robert Suarez will start his 10-game suspension tonight. And the Aztecs take on Idaho State this Saturday, Snapdragon Stadium, looking to go 2-0 on the year. 7:30 kick, 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Turn your car wash routine into a singing sensation with Soapy Joe's Car Wash Karaoke. They're giving you the chance to win a full year of free washes by participating. This offer is for the first 500 participants who submit 10 songs before September 30th. Details at soapyjoescarwash.com.
All right, we have Aztec tickets to give away. We'll do that in 15 minutes. Trainwreck Radio. Doug Deakin, Aztec Special Teams Coordinator. He will join us at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, NBC7, will join us at 5:30. It's been a little bit like taking candy from a baby, comparing the Padres to other teams. Like, it's very easy to do.
Oh, it's so easy.
There's so many instances. Like, we've been comparing the organization to the Mets.
Yeah.
We've been discussing what's going on in Philadelphia with the Phillies and their stars compared to the Padres and their stars.
We had David Peralta for the Dodgers, a couple weeks ago, talk about, hey, you see teams with big egos and they just lose. Compared it to the Padres.
Exactly.
Like you could take a lot of situations with other teams, and it's like the complete opposite with the Padres.
So back to the Phillies. Yesterday in their clubhouse, Nick Castellanos talking about newcomer Trey Turner, who signed that huge long deal with the Phillies, who has struggled by and large this year in Philadelphia. Here's Nick Castellanos on Trey Turner.
Well, first off, let's put something into perspective, right? Like, Trey Turner signed an 11-year contract to play for Philadelphia. So when Trey's playing his last year here, I'm going to be in the bar with Liam having a drink. So, he needs to feel comfortable. He needs to feel welcome. I know what that's like. And I think that what that standing ovation does is like, hey, like we have your back. This is your new home. We want you to succeed. We want you to play well. And, you know, like baseball is a hard game. Not everybody can not everybody can play it, especially every day. And every dollar that Trey has signed, he's earned, and he's worth it, right? Like he hits a ball into the second deck in the left field, and he has 250 stolen bases in his career. So that shows you the talent that he has. Now it's just a matter of him feeling comfortable in a Phillies uniform for it to show every single day.
You hearing Manny Machado talk about Xander Bogaerts like that?
I don't hear anyone talking about anyone like that.
Nope.
It's not just Manny. I don't hear anyone coming to the defense of Manny's 11-year deal or Bogart's 11-year deal
or Tatis's remaining 11 years.
I just don't hear it. Their words are like
they're hollow.
Toothless. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So hearing things like that, and then hearing yesterday from Bryce Harper, and just, you know, the vibe that you see from other teams, it's not showing up here. And I heard that Castellanos quote yesterday, or whenever I
think it was last night.
I think it was last night, yeah. And I'm thinking, and I immediately went to exactly what we just talked about. When have we seen anybody in this clubhouse that is a big time name, and there's a bunch of them in there, stick up for one another and not go at the fans for potentially booing, right? Like not going at anybody. And I thought there, and I could be wrong, it didn't feel like it was any snark by Castellanos towards anybody. I think it was just a reaffirming how good Trey Turner has been in the big leagues, and like, hey man, this guy's great. Like he's doing a lot of stuff, doing this, and you know, he deserves all that money. He deserves everything that he has earned in his career. You ain't seeing that from anybody in this clubhouse for one another.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because now that the season is over and the outcome has been determined, this is when leadership most shines. Now is when you'd actually like to hear the admissions, the failures, the honesties, the transparencies. This is when you need to hear from your leaders and say, it hasn't been good enough, but let me tell you this. Or you need to hear others come to the defense of others. The Padres all year have envisioned themselves as one of baseball's best teams when that's not who they've been. And it's like they still, even through August, were like, you know what, we can still do this. There's time.
Stop it.
And now finally, like it's hit them in the face, and it's like they don't know what to do about it.
I know. And it's very disheartening, because you would love to hear that out of this clubhouse. You would love to hear Manny go, you know, I have struggled so much this year, and we have struggled as a team, but don't go blaming this guy. Don't go blaming this guy. Don't go, like, we are a team. I have everybody's back here. Everyone has each other's backs. These guys deserve what they've been paid for. If it's just, we've had a down year. But if you're going to look at anybody to start with, I'm the captain of this team. I'm the leader of this team. Look at me first. Look at me first, because I should be the one leading these guys on the field, and I have not done that this year.
I want to hear the passionate plea for Padres fans at Petco Park this year the leaders. Not even that. Not a we're sorry as much as we appreciate you.
We're sorry.
We wish we could have lived up to this. We haven't been able to do it, but we really do appreciate the support you've showed us this year. And I think occasionally you'll hear something. I think Bob Melvin's been good on crowds. I think Jake Cronenworth tried to do that. Manny Machado has said before, we've got great fans. We have some of the best fans of baseball. He says that repeatedly. It's just, I want to hear it with passion. Yeah. I want to hear something like legitimately real, to recognize you've had people go there each and every night for 6 months, spend time and money on this. They haven't gotten the result they should have gotten. And I just want to hear someone like a willingness to admit that they appreciate the fan base and they want to do better by the fans. And that'll be their goals moving forward.
One thing about this year's team compared to last year's team, albeit last year's team wasn't this like juggernaut. I mean, they kind of not backed away in the postseason, but they had to play good baseball down the stretch. It wasn't a guarantee they made the postseason at all. They had 2 good series and they went 6-6 in the postseason. Like it was average, right? But the one thing about last year's team that this team has not had all year long, and there's only one player on this team that can relate that to. It's the relatability factor. This team, to a lot of fans, are a bunch of overpriced, stuck up crybabies. That's how I think fans are viewing this team, because you got, I don't want to hit here. I don't want to do this, right? You got, hey, you better jump on the bandwagon now before we start raking, or you're going to think that, you're going to be an idiot, right? Hey, we quit. This guy over here, this team sucks. I don't know why we're not beating that team. Last year's team, I feel like you had a way more relatable factor that the fan base could latch on to.
I think it has to do with winning. Like if this team was winning, you would look the other way at all that.
Yeah, true.
That's how I honestly feel about it. I don't difference.
True. I agree.
And I think last year's team, what they had for them, Musgrove's health and Manny Machado's season.
Yeah.
Like that was what they had. Manny hit, Musgrove posted and performed, and that kind of carried the way. This team just doesn't have any of it on field.
I mean, last year you had guys like these aren't like any special type of players, but they had big moments for this team last year. Jorge Alfaro, 5 walk-offs, right? That's F and go San Diego. Very relatable. Jerks and Profar, just that his season last year. It's Hassan Kim was still a fan favorite last year, just like he is this year. You got Joe Musgrove for the entire season. You have a new manager in Bob Melvin it was completely refreshing over Jace Tingler the previous year, right? You just don't have any of that with the team. And nothing. It's just been a pain in the ass all year.
But I'll go back to what we both said in the 3 o'clock hour. I could care less about their likability if they win. I could care less about what they say in the clubhouse if they win. That's all people want. They want a winner. That's what they want. And they honestly, they deserve it. San Diegans deserve a winner. Hopefully it's coming soon. All right, on the other side, call right now if you want tickets to see San Diego State, Idaho State Saturday. We've got Trainwreck Radio. That is trivia. Call right now. First 2 callers are our contestants, 844-570-1360. 844-570-1360. This is San Diego State, Idaho State, Snapdragon Stadium, Saturday at 7:30. Tickets and info at goaztecs.com. Our pregame coverage will begin at 5:30. Ted Leitner, Rich Ornberger on the call at 7:30. Call right now if you want those tickets, if you want to play trivia. 844-570-1360. That's next. All right, Trainwreck Radio is next. Doug Deakin, San Diego State Special Teams Coordinator at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, NBC 7 from Petco Park at 5:30. Stay with us. All right, so we're about to give away San Diego State tickets. Next hour, we will give away these tickets to the Summer Block Party, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, Jodeci, SWV, Sunday, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Tomorrow we'll be downtown, and by we, I mean me.
Not high.
Blimeboro celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the all-new San Diego Sports 760.
That's okay, Jim. I won't be down there either.
Right.
Do you want me to call in to like celebrate with you?
Not particularly. Maybe.
No, I won't be doing much. I'll just be like hanging out.
You won't be doing much?
No. I'll
just hanging out.
Yeah, we're hanging out.
To be in a bagel coma.
Are you going to dinner though? Because this is 6 to 9 Eastern. You know how the time zones work?
Yeah, it's a good question.
So Eastern time zone is 3 hours ahead.
Oh yeah. I think we are going to dinner on.
Are you going to dinner from 6 to 9?
It's either
a 3 hour dinner.
Either tomorrow night or Saturday nights. Like we're taking her family out to dinner. I'll get back to you on that.
Wait, you just said, do you want me to join you? And now you're like, I'm not going to join.
Well, like, I'm not going to fully commit because I don't really know exactly what we're doing. But yes, Brent, to your point, I will be in a bagel coma. The second I land, we're getting pork roll, egg, and cheese bagels.
Pork roll, egg, and cheese.
Yeah.
You can hit up Wawa at some point?
Potentially. I've already hit up Wawa, and my review of it is it's like Subway. But with better bread.
I don't even know what to say to that. And it's not very relatable to anyone listening, but
that's very,
I think it's pretty controversial take.
I should shut up while I.
It's like a gas station.
Tell everyone you meet out there that.
I'm like, so you have Wawa? It's like Subway.
You should be like that dude. You should put Wawa isn't any better than Subway. Prove me wrong.
Well, actually,
What dude?
The guy that's like on a table.
You know, the guy, the memes that always put the stuff where he's at the table. It's like, oh,
right.
It's good. Don't get me wrong. Wawa's very good. The bread is very good. I just like the meats and everything. It's just like it's like
Literally no one cares.
you go there and you order and it's just a sandwich.
No one cares.
It's good bread, though. Hoagie's good bread.
No one cares. Doug Deakin, San Diego State Special Teams Coordinator at 5:15. Darnay Tripp from Petco at 5. I mean, literally, if you've heard of Wawa, 70470 started with team. Let's play. If you care, tell us. If you don't care, rip Jim on the text line or in the chat or call us. Let's play.
I'm an idiot.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Scott and Brandon. Scott, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with John.
Smart. This is like 7 consecutive days.
That's fine. Scott, you get John.
No, yeah.
That means Brandon, you get me. All right.
Got it.
Cool. Brent, what is today's question of the day?
All right, guys, week 1 of the college football season officially kicks off tonight. We're getting ready to watch Utah and Florida in here.
That's right, we are.
Today's question. Can you name any of the 7 teams that have won a national championship since 2010?
All right. So
So we're-
7 teams. That means some teams have won multiple.
Look at you.
Jim
yeah,
Facts.
Jim Facts.
Yeah, that's
Jim
right. Because there's been more than 7
yeah.
years since 2010.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Okay, who's up first? Oh, Brandon. Brandon's up first. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
LSU.
LSU.
LSU since 2010.
Yes.
They've won, right?
Joe
Brett?
Burrow.
Yeah. Okay,
Joe
that's
Burrow
right.
year.
Yeah, that was a good team.
Scott, you're up next. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Georgia.
Georgia.
Have the Georgia Bulldogs won a national championship? They have.
Looking
the
for their
last
3rd
2.
straight.
Right.
First team since like the 1930s.
Is that right?
Yeah.
To win 3 straight? I didn't realize that.
Brandon, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Alabama.
Alabama.
They
Roll
won
Tide.
one. They have.
Yes, they have. They won multiple, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Scott, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Scott, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Clemson.
Clemson.
Yep.
On the list. There we go. Brandon, to go 3 for 3 here. What's your final guess? You do still have your lifeline. What do you got?
I'm going to take my lifeline on this one.
Okay. Since 2010, I'm going to go with Auburn. Will you take that?
Yes.
Wow.
To beat the Oregon Ducks the year that Cam Newton was there.
That's right. They did.
All right, Scott, you need this to send this thing to overtime. What is your final guess? And you do have your lifeline if you still want to use it.
I will go with the Ohio State.
The Ohio
First
State.
year of the playoffs.
Yes, yep.
The other team is Florida State. Is that correct, Brett?
Yep.
Yeah, with Jameis Winston.
Oh, look at me. I'm John. I know everything
Yeah.
about college football.
That's
oh, my
right.
gosh.
I'm shocked you didn't say like
What?
Purdue.
Like UCLA.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going to overtime. Brent, rules, then the question.
All right, the way overtime is going to work is I'm going to ask you a question. When I am done asking the question, you're going to yell out the name of your partner today, either John or Jim. Don't yell the answer. Whoever yells out the name of their partner first, you're going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys got it?
Got it.
Yes.
Okay, today's question. In the game between Florida and Utah, who's the home team tonight?
Jim.
I heard Jim.
All right, Brandon, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm hoping Florida.
That is incorrect. This game is in Salt Lake City, Utah. You had a 50-50 chance.
Gosh.
And this thing's in Utah. Last year in Gainesville, Florida won. Wow.
I got to tell the second that he said, I was not feeling great
It's like
about that
game
one.
of the century. This is like Super Bowl 50. Was that a big game? Probably. It was the Super Bowl. Anyway, that's incorrect. Game's at Rice Eccles, University of Utah.
Cam
Later
Rising
on-
is not dressed, or he's not. He's in street clothes.
Scott wins.
Did anybody care? No.
No, they announced that yesterday. All right, Scott, you have won a pair of tickets to see San Diego State take on Idaho State this Saturday at
Darn it.
7:30. Tickets and info at goaztecs.com. Our pregame coverage with me and J.R. Tolver, not Jim, begins at 5:30. Ted and Rich will be on the call at 7:30.
I think this game will be more exciting than Super Bowl 50.
What was Super Bowl 50? Was it Colts, someone?
No, Broncos, Panthers.
No, that wasn't a good game.
Darn it. 24-10 final.
Okay, 24-10. What? What's your darn it?
JaVale McGee just signed with the Sacramento Kings.
All right, we'll go commercial free in the 5 o'clock hour. JaVale McGee has signed with the Kings. we won't take any breaks from here on out. Doug Deakin, San Diego State Special Teams Coordinator at 5:15. Darnay Tripp, NBC 7 at 5:30. We have tickets to give away to the Summer Block Party featuring Jodeci and SWV in the 5 o'clock hour as well. We'll get Jim to calm down here and get ready for a big 5 o'clock hour. That's next on John and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Soapy Joe's Car Wash. Padres Giants start a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Pedro Avila on the mound for the Padres. Other news from Petco Park today: Yu Darvish found out he has bone spurs in his throwing elbow, and Robert Suarez will not appeal, or at least he's going to take his 10-game suspension starting tonight. Aztecs take on Idaho State Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 kick, 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the Sacramento Kings just signed JaVale McGee to a 1-year deal. Turn your car wash routine into a singing sensation with Soapy Joe's Car Wash Karaoke. They're giving you the chance to win a full year of free washes by participating. This offer is for the first 500 participants who submit 10 songs before September 30th. Details at soapyjoescarwash.com.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's the final hour of John and Jim this hour. We do have those tickets to give away for the summer block party. That's Sunday at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Keep listening. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. We'll give those tickets away between now and 5:30. By the way, we just gave away tickets for Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium. San Diego State trying to get to 2-0. They'll be playing Idaho State, and it's great to catch up right now with San Diego State special teams coordinator Doug Deakin back with us here on John and Jim on the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Coach, we appreciate your time. I want to start with your first game because when it comes to special teams, I feel like in terms of the great unknowns, it would be all of special teams heading into a season. Is there that level of anxiety and sleeplessness heading into a season? Because there's some variables that might be out of your control heading into a year when it comes to special teams.
First of all, thanks for having me on. Come on, San Diego Sports 760. Let's go, John and Jim.
All right, there we go. I like it.
All right, fire me up.
We just did the full buffet of special teams as our Thursday practice going into week one last week. Absolutely. And sure enough, what came about? Hands team at the end of the game. You know,
right.
Yes, of course. That is always special teams coordinators' reality as you go into week one or the beginning of the season. Did you cover everything? Are the guys prepared? And you do as much in practice about all the nuances and potential situations so that they are ready and they don't look at each other and go, Coach, what do we do?
Yeah, no, exactly what you're saying there, Coach. Jack Browning for you is such a luxury because he can not only handle the kicking duties, but he handles the punt as well. How much of a luxury is it to have that, one person on your team that can be such a weapon for you?
He's as good as it gets. He is a football player that just so happens to mesh the ball with his foot in an elite fashion. He runs with the skill players in the strength and conditioning portions of our program from January all the way up to kickoff. I mean, he is a stud. It is an absolute luxury. A hometown hero, Westville High School, host of Grossman, then comes here and has gotten better every day. And like you said, a weapon and someone that you love having the ball in his hands here. He makes good things happen.
He's going to kick at the next level, right?
In my mind, yes, he has all the tools. And he has a great head on his shoulders, and he is an absolute athlete that I see exactly projecting.
Yeah.
Because, like punt, one of the big things that separates college from the NFL is it's mandated to be pro punt. So any special teams coordinator in the NFL, you are kicking to the less than 1% population in the world that is dynamic enough to take it the distance. So you got to have great hang time. You got to have great operation time. We have all of those things already at the college level. So NFL scouts that I possess great hang time. I possess great location of my kicks. You can't kick it down the middle of the field to that most electric athlete in the world as a punt returner on Sundays.
Doug Deakin is with us right now, special teams coordinator for San Diego State, played at San Diego State on special teams for a couple of years in 2009 and 2010. And speaking of which, so you played for Brady. You've coached under Brady. How does that compare? Playing for him and coaching with him?
I'll tell you what. I would have run through a brick wall for him, sitting in the auditorium seats, looking at him as he first introduced himself to the team. Men, we're here to win the championship. So, done. Let's do this. We just got off a 2-10 season. Guys kind of looking at each other. Shoot, we had, I think, 6 guys get drafted that year in the 2008 or 2009 April NFL draft, but we were 2-10. We just didn't play like a team. And so now being honest, that one of the greatest things I appreciated as a player was how the staff spoke with one voice. Obviously, he was the head of it. Everything came through Coach Hoke, but the receivers coach coached me the same way as the special teams coach was talking to me. Same with the D-line as the offensive line, etc. Now on staff, it makes all the sense to me because that's how I operate now. Everything that Coach talks about is the same things that we're emphasizing and really coaching out here. And keeping it simple, play hard, play tough, and be disciplined.
Coach, most people just talk about offense and defense, but special teams can decide a lot of games. You guys scored 6 points on special teams from Jack Browning. That was the difference in the game on Saturday. But for you, the mindset going into every single game, like making sure that everybody on special teams knows how important they are to potential outcomes of games.
They're all the difference. And we break it down into 3 objective categories: possession, field position, and then momentum plays that I give them the Austin Powers. Yeah, baby, mojo, right? Those are the game breakers, right? So we talk about field position. Idaho State last year, we pinned 5 punts. Their starting offense started behind the 5 on 4 possessions, 3 of which were down at the 1-yard line. So their resulting drive for their ensuing offensive possession didn't score. So those are all the things we talk about. And obviously the importance, as you brought up, that key word, those are the things that I'm showing the guys as tangible objectives on the why. Not only, that's what we're supposed to do, but literally it resulted in 0 points for their offense because we're downing them inside the 5-yard line.
San Diego State special teams coordinator Doug Deakin with us right now on John and Jim. So speaking of Idaho State, you referenced the success in special teams last year, a 38-7 win, but they're a completely new team, like every team is in college football year in and year out, but new coaching staff, something like 60 or 70 new players. What's your preparation like for a team that basically hasn't been seen on film?
No question. As I'm trying to get ready for different situations, now it's about what schematically are we going to see? How can I get the guys ready? So this staff has come from UC Davis. The special teams coordinator was the director of player personnel there. So I have shown them some UC Davis. But most importantly, it's about no matter what they give us, here's how we align, here's how we communicate, and here's the game plan. Here's what we're doing no matter what they present us. And here are some wrinkles that I've seen from several different staffs that have eclectically made up Idaho State and their experience of what we may see. So it's kind of free agency now in this day and age of college football. Obviously they had a new staff, so 60 new guys where, transfer portal. It's like you're getting ready for brand new faces, even though you played a year ago. They don't have one returning specialist. So there's no film to show them of what they're to expect from their punter, their kicker, all of those things. So that's tough. However, it's about us, what do you do when they give us this? And for them to be able to answer those questions in meeting and then come out on the field. And I gave, like I told you, full buffet menu today. It was the kitchen sink. Gave them all sorts of fakes, all sorts of stuff that they shut down and feel good about going into Saturday.
And coming off of Saturday, you got the win. That's the most important thing. As a whole, offense, defense, special teams, how do you think you guys performed against Ohio?
A lot to clean up. It was awesome for Jack to go out there, hit a 49-yarder swish on the first time he got to go out there. Obviously hit just underneath the ball. One lucky fan in row 6 of Snapdragon got the wide right kick.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, like how special is Jack? Like any human being has a potential for then losing all self-confidence, and tanking. But that's not Jack. He goes right back out there, hits the next opportunity. We can't kick the ball off out of bounds, but those are the things I need to clean up. However, I thought we played well. We won in all facets of field position. We net 55 yards on punt. They net 33.7. That is a gigantic advantage. On kickoff return, our offense started with an average field position of the minus 29. So that's better than just calling fair catch and then our offense coming out at the 25-yard line. So those are positives we took from week one, but we've got to play a heck of a lot better and not make self-inflicted wounds, kicking the ball off out of bounds, things of that nature.
San Diego State, Idaho State, Saturday at 7:30. Tickets are available at goaztecs.com. Our pregame coverage is going to begin at 5:30. Coach, it's always our pleasure to catch up. Best of luck this weekend. We'll do it again throughout the course of the year, and thank you for taking some time for us.
Thanks for talking Aztec football. Anytime. I'm your Huckleberry.
No, thanks, Coach.
Doug Deakin, again, played at San Diego State, has been a really good special teams coordinator as well with the Aztecs.
He is a guy that just fires you up the second he opens his mouth, and that's exactly who you want as your special teams coordinator.
You know what
Now, John, did you understand any of the movie references?
Not really, but that's okay. But I get that he was
Austin
making
Powers,
a reference.
Tombstone. He threw out a bunch of them.
I did.
You're like, what? Huh? No.
Okay, so we've been talking about the fact that the college football season obviously is underway with week 0, but the real kickoff is this weekend.
You're so enamored by this game today.
And the biggest game of the night is this Utah-Florida game. And you were like, hey, the Utah quarterback's not playing. Well, anyway, they're back up on the first play of the game for Utah offensively, 70-yard touchdown throw.
How far in the air? Was it just like a screen or
like 50 yards?
Oh, so it was
an absolute bomb.
Okay.
Play action, bomb, caught, touchdown. First play. So Utah leads Florida.
When are you going to do the Utah wrap-up show tonight?
That'll probably be after I do a solo wrap-up show without you for the next week, since you're going to be in Philadelphia.
That's how he's going to pass the time while you're gone.
Just do random
wrap-up show
shows
into wrap-up show.
Yeah.
So, yes, there will be a wrap-up show tonight. Padres-Giants game 1.
Yes.
Padres fans, like, how are you looking at the month the way we're looking at the month, which is like there's only something to lose and nothing to gain. The two things you can lose, health of your players and potential, position in which you're drafting, as if it even matters.
But they don't care about that. No one in that clubhouse cares about position of drafting.
No, not in the clubhouse. Padres fans. Do you want to see them win? Because if they win, they're just putting themselves in a bit of a worse spot for 2024. We always talk about this in sports. You want your NBA team to go 40-40, or do you want to go 20-60 or 60-20? Same thing in the NFL. You want to go 8-9, or you want to go 15-2 or 2-15?
Do you think any decision that's made in the offseason with this organization, front office, coaching staff could be changed from a good September? Even if they don't make the postseason, but just a good September.
Do I think anyone could retain their job based on a good September?
Like if they had a good September and they finish quote unquote strong, would that matter, or does it not matter what they do the rest of the
I
time?
don't think it matters.
Okay.
That's how I look at it, because I look at it like black or white, or black and white, that it shouldn't matter. They're either in the postseason, and then we could discuss if that's good enough or not, or they're not in the postseason. And there's nothing they can do in September to reach the postseason, essentially.
I hope that's the case. No matter what happens in September, there needs to be changes and real reflection and a strip down of this organization of what the hell is going on for this to happen 2 out of the last 3 years, right? I hope it happens. But I also hope if they do, for whatever reason, I don't know, there's nothing to back this, have a good September. They're not making the playoffs, but if they have a good September, I just hope that doesn't affect any type of changes going into the offseason, because whether you might agree with it or not, I'm talking to anybody out there, I do believe that their sweep of the Rangers that weekend determined them officially not selling at the deadline instead of the first 90-plus games of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you, but of course it was different, because then there were still 60-something games left, and they actually had something to play for. The way I look at September is like how I look at preseason football.
Okay.
If you go 3-0, doesn't really matter. If you go 20-10 here, whatever it is.
Like optics don't matter. Like, hey, we finished strong.
No, I think you can get fooled with September in baseball a lot.
That's what I'm hoping.
But I'm saying
happen.
You get fooled, like you go 20-10 and like it really doesn't. It's not impactful. There are teams that close well in September's that don't necessarily continue on that trajectory the next year, and there's teams that do probably. But 20-10 in September doesn't guarantee 20-10 next April.
Because I'm like envisioning it and I can hear it so clearly.
We finished strong.
Lost
a lot of one-run games.
We just got really unlucky because of the extra innings and the one-run games, and we just got to clean up some stuff here and there. And we feel like with this team is, primed to have a big season next year. Blah 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 blah.
You also have to remember that they are that's kind of their job. I mean, AJ Preller, he's not a marketing guy, but he is supposed to position his organization without being truthful like me and you. He's never going to publicly say like, you know what? Abject failure. 2024, we're punting on two. Like the thing that came out with the Mets.
That's what Mets said.
Yeah, but they did. That was Scherzer saying what the Mets said. You never want that getting out. You think that plays well in New York? It's a reason not to go to games.
I don't think that they're going to be punting on next year. I think they're going to legitimately try to win.
I'm saying like anything they say has to be seen through the lens of they are the organization. They should be spinning it.
Wouldn't you appreciate more if AJ and Peter came out and said what you just said, abject failure. This is the worst possible outcome that could have happened this year. This is unacceptable. This can't happen again. We're so frustrated and upset with how this season happened, and it's our fault. Or would you rather hear the spin cycle, which is coming?
Well, 2021
to make sure the fan base is like, okay.
2021, I thought Peter was very he was willing to take a lot of blame. He spent a lot of time with the media. He said 1 in a 100-year collapse. They wanted to rectify it. He was going to look up and down to make sure it didn't happen again. They were trying to get to the bottom of why it occurred. Now, the problem with that is 2 years later, it's not that they've had a 1 in a 100-year collapse. They've had a 1 in a 100-year season. The team has just been bad. They just collapsed from day one. So if you said that in 2021, I don't know what you can say after 2020. The only thing you can say is with action. If you make something change, then I think people are going to be understanding. But if you just have words and everything else stays the same, I don't know how receptive people are going to be to it. I don't.
And I do think in 2021, while those things were said, right, once in a generation collapse, this is our fault, blah, 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 it was masked because you hired Bob Melvin.
Yeah, that was a big win. At the time, it was a huge win.
You fire Bob Melvin this year?
That's not a big win.
That's a huge, huge loss.
Right. Because there is no, you can't spin.
No.
Right. And this isn't
managers.
even anti-Ryan Flaherty, but you can't spin it. And even if it's not Ryan Flaherty and it's from the outside, what's the positioning going to be?
Because Preller to this point, and, it's no wrong. Melvin's has some blame here, obviously, but like he couldn't find a manager that could work. He hasn't found a manager that could work with his team. Now, the Andy Green eras he was like literally a placeholder. Like unfortunately for Andy, he was not hired here to win.
No doubt.
He was here to just be the manager while they were
developing
rebuilding.
or whatever. Yeah.
But Jace Tingler was here to win.
Yeah, definitely.
And Bob Melvin's here to win.
Absolutely.
And if you let both of those guys go, who the hell's going to fix it if these two guys can't? You hired a first-time manager that was disaster. You hired a veteran manager that had a lot of respect and been to the postseason multiple times and manager of the year awards. If that doesn't work.
And also, do you really
a middle guy? Do
you really want it if your last two have had the job for 2 years? You have one of the most respected managers in the game. He made it 2 years. You had a first-time manager. He made it 2 years, and that included a 60-game season. Like, basically, if you take the job, aren't you asking to be let go in 2 years? 844-570-1360. Dave, your name came up earlier.
Oh, it's Dave.
Hello, I don't even know if you were listening about the whole Chuck from Mount Airy that Bryce Harper talked about yesterday. We're saying, what if Manny said that about Dave from Chula? Dave, you're on with John and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, Manny would say a lot worse about me. Trust me.
Oh yeah. You got man.
It would be ugly, but nonetheless, deserved probably. Who knows? But we talked about this whole topic of what should the Padres say a while back, and I suggested, I'll say it again, if we're going to retain the group at the top, I think the group at the top needs to, publicly admit, look, guys, we tried our best. We overshot the runway. We deliver too little, promise too much. We're going to identify what the problems are. We're going to do our very best to fix them to go into the next year. That's about all that they can say to have any credibility at this point. And to your point, Jim, I mean, if they say anything else with the typical pablum that they've been known for, then they're not going to have credibility, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose at the box office because people are tired of this. I mean, this season will do damage next year at the box office, whether they want to admit it or not. In my feeling,
I agree with that, Dave. I agree with that, and thanks for. I do agree with that. I mean, listen, the excitement, fan fest, you're not replicating seats to the exact same degree. You just got to come out and win.
You can't all talk this team was this year.
Yeah.
Like literally you can't talk. Like you just got to be like,
You
put
gotta
your head
win.
down and work and win right away.
That was 2022. They won right away. Best 50-game start in franchise history. They were 15 over right away.
Yep.
They were like 30-15. And that got people talking and excited.
Yeah.
Next year can't be this year to have 40,000 people every night.
No.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And look, for as bad as this team has performed with such high expectations,
Mm-hmm.
let me let you in on a little secret.
Okay, I'm listening.
Those expectations next year are not changing. It is still World Series. That is the expectation that you have set when you sign Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts. You have Juan Soto on the team if he makes it to next year.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Those are the expectations now until their actions change this offseason.
Well,
if they change.
Still, if they happen to trade Juan Soto in the offseason, John,
that doesn't scream World Series to me.
But it also doesn't change the expectations that I would have. Because if you
we traded Juan Soto.
But like that's not them trading Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Joe Musgrove, and Jake Cronenworth.
True, but it was we got him for 3 postseason runs.
So without Juan Soto on the team, this team is not should not have expectations to win a World Series.
Expectations. I mean, I think it would.
Still
I
have
think
two
it would
top
take
5
a
MVP
big
candidates.
toll on the fan base if they traded Juan Soto in the offseason.
Well, look, while this team still has Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Jake Cronenworth, all locked up for multiple years. I'm being honest with you.
Be honest with me. You think the 6 you just said
Yeah.
are the top 6 core in baseball?
No, I'm not saying that, John. But what I am saying is the money that you have dealt out to those 6 guys is not we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but okay. And we have Darnay Tripp on the other side. You don't go 72-90 and win a World Series the next year, by and large.
No, you don't.
You just don't.
But guess what?
You just don't.
The expectation, it's still going to be there for me.
Now, again, the Orioles might do it, but they're not going.
No.
But you just don't. All right, Darnay Tripp is at Petco Park. We'll get his reaction to the Padres' struggles as they come home, plus Jim's Backpage, plus call right now if you want those summer block party tickets. I promised we'd give those away by 5:30. 844-570-1360. Caller 4, they are yours. Summer block party featuring Jodeci and SWV Sunday at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Call right now, 844-570-1360. Caller 4, they're yours. That's next. All right, so Darnay Tripp, NBC7. He's been in the clubhouse today, part of a scrum with Fernando Tatis Jr. and others. What's the temperament of this team as they come home for this homestand tonight against the Giants? We'll talk to Darnay next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Sobe Joe's Car Wash. It's good, clean, fun. Padres Giants start a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Pedro Avila on the mound for the Padres tonight. Other news down at Petco Park: Yu Darvish diagnosed with bone spurs in his elbow, and Robert Suarez will start his suspension for using sticky stuff officially tonight. Moving over to the Aztecs, they take on Idaho State this Saturday, 7:30 kickoff. 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Turn your car wash routine into a singing sensation with Soapy Joe's Car Wash Karaoke. They're giving you the chance to win a full year of free washes by participating. This offer is for the first 500 participants who submit 10 songs before September 30th. Details at soapyjoescarwash.com.
So Jim's going to miss a few days. He's going to be out east. And to be fair, I don't know if am I going to miss you. We spent so much time together. We could probably use a week apart. But
Right.
I've missed Darnay Tripp.
Oh my gosh!
So backhanded compliment.
Thanks
well,
for that.
just backhanding you, really.
You'll
I
miss
feel bad
me.
saying I'll miss
You'll
you
miss
because
me
I'm not going to know how to do anything.
because you're gonna be texting me like, "How do I do this, bro? How do I do this? Give me a graphic. Can you make a graphic? Make a look. Oh, I get it. What am I doing?
Exactly. But Darnay, we're doing Sports Wrap with on NBC7, and we haven't worked with him the last couple of weeks. But he's going to be. So I figured I'd text him like, I need to have you on the show. We haven't talked to you.
We need our Darnay fix for the week.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Darnay's down at Petco Park. He's back with us on John and Jim. Darnay, thank you, first of all. Secondly, what's the temperament down there? You've talked with some players, say, I know. I heard you in that scrum with Fernando Tatis Jr. What's the temperament here?
First off, I got to say, I mean, your Jim impression is just impeccable.
My Jim impression? What'd I say?
Yeah.
Oh.
How do I do that?
That's Jim's impression of me, isn't it?
That's my impression of
you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sorry, I misheard. Well, that's a great impression of yourself. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Let me just get to your question.
Yeah.
Since clearly I was listening so well to the introduction.
Yes.
I think I know what you asked me.
Temperament of this team.
It wasn't. There wasn't much to go on. If we're being honest, one of the quieter days in the Padres clubhouse that I've had this season, just me personally, you know, I'm not there quite as often as say the Marty Caswells and Kevin Aces of the world. But typically when, you know, you get back from a long road trip, guys are around and talking and this and that. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but there weren't too many guys, especially kind of the big name marquee players, just hanging out in their lockers, waiting for the swarms to descend upon them. And so it was quiet, definitely somber. And, you know, we got a chance to talk to Fernando Tatis Jr. and Bob Melvin. And Fernando, you know, I think he put as positive a spin on it as possible. But there just seemed to be kind of a quiet resignation or understanding of their reality and maybe acceptance of it. And just like, hey, we're going to go out there. We're going to keep playing hard, try and make the most of it. But clearly the writing is on the wall and the guys seem to realize that. And
I saw, you know, you mentioned there, Tatis had a scrum. He was talking today, and it was very interesting. I believe it was you. I forget if it was you or someone else that asked him about like, how does he view his season overall? And he thought he viewed it very positively because of how he's handled things coming off of a suspension. How do you feel, Darnay, about his season? Because the numbers, frankly, aren't really good, and it's a little concerning because you hope this is just a one-off. But you know, he is healthy as he says he is. So how do you feel about Tatis's season coming off of suspension and 2 surgeries?
Yeah, the answer wasn't necessarily the direction I was going, but you know, clearly that's on his mind. You know, I think this season has been bigger than just kind of his on-field performance and what his baseball reference page says. I think it's, you know, how he's handled some of these difficult situations. And I think, you know, it's kind of the direction he went, just kind of feeling proud of like, yeah, you know, we know he's heard it, especially from fans and that sort of thing, and has had to kind of deal with different stuff this year, and seems pleased with the way that he's navigated that. But yeah, I think, you know, look, it shouldn't be a huge surprise that, you know, the numbers took a dip. You know, you could go back to a FanGraph piece from before the season that probably aged fairly well, just in terms of the power numbers, overall offensive numbers. You know, look at what he's done in right field. I mean, it's been phenomenal, right? And that seems to kind of answer the question long term for him, you know, making the transition to the outfield. And that's been, you know, certainly one of the bright spots on the team. And while he's had stretches where he's looked like kind of peak Fernando Tatis Jr., even in quick bursts, the consistency hasn't been there. And he kind of had, you know, a week or two where he shortened up and kind of seemed to shake off some of the struggles. But, you know, in the last week or two, it's kind of gone back to scuffling a little bit. Power numbers haven't been nearly what we've anticipated. And again, all these things can probably be expected to a degree. And so the way I look at it is like, we'd have to see a lot of this before I'd sound any alarms, you know, coming off all the major surgeries. And then he even talked about, you know, just his own normal workouts, like aside from spring training, like not being able to do what he would like to do, you know, now really like 2 off seasons now, that's going to have some impact on his effectiveness. And so I think, I'm sure, you know, and I think he even kind of hinted at it today, you know, like looking forward, you know, being hopeful, optimistic, to have kind of a normal off season, his normal routine, and see where that goes. And I don't think we'll really have the answer to the question of terms of like who he is and should we be worried until we see what next season looks like. And even the season after that. I mean, guys have slumps, guys have down years, and he's been through a lot, and all that kind of contributes.
Yeah, I think it's well said. Darnay Tripp, NBC7 with us right now, John and Jim. So, okay, now that we're looking to 2024, because this thing's done, any way you go into 2024, and I don't know what this means, but without real change?
That's a great question. And one thing that I hadn't really considered, and let me plug the On Fire podcast here.
Yes, please.
Plug it.
I believe Scott Miller is a friend of your show.
Oh, yeah.
And I had him on today, had a great conversation. And one of the things that he mentioned is like, hey, look, you know, there are some kind of cost prohibitive things in play here. Like, whether it's a buyout for Bob Melvin or, AJ Preller being under contract through 2026. Like all these things have to be taken into account, and then kind of the finances of the organization as a whole. And that's obviously been talked about. And so there's all these things that you kind of have to take into account that fans, and ourselves just kind of watching from a distance don't always consider. And so there's that piece of it as well. It would be hard to imagine that there wouldn't be some sort of major change, whether it is managerial, whether it is beyond that in the front office. Is it a repositioning of someone like AJ Preller or different additions to the staff? We'll see. I think as we get close to the off season, I'm getting more curious, because we've been talking about that so much, right? But like, what does the roster look like, and the pieces that have kind of been around but have struggled and maybe not developed the way that they would expect. But to answer your question, like, something's got to change. Like, and I think at this point, after the seasons that we've seen, since 2019, I don't think the fan base is going to be that easily won over if they try and sell it as, some moves around the fringes, but we feel like with better luck, things are going to bounce back. I think there's been enough evidence to the contrary that you're probably going to have to show the fan base something for them to really buy it.
Would anything surprise you with them in the offseason? Like what's one thing, if they did, that would like truly surprise you?
That's so hard with this team.
I know.
So it's so hard. What hasn't happened in like the last 5 years?
Like, right. It's all happened.
Like, what would surprise me is they signed Shohei Ohtani to also be manager and president of baseball operations. That would legitimately surprise me.
Why do you say that? I'm kidding.
But beyond that, nothing would really surprise me. It's so hard to tell, and even acknowledging that we've been talking about this for so long, we just have, nobody seems to have any real clue. And I think Kevin told Darren like something along the lines of, he would be surprised if Bob Melvin, I hope I'm not misquoting him, but I think he said something along those lines, so, kind of hinting at like, it might be surprised if Melvin were still around. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just this organization, this group of people, weird things that seem to happen. It's really hard to put your finger on it.
By the way, Darnay, before you go, so Jim will be in Philly tomorrow in South Jersey, and he said earlier on the show that Wawa is like Subway. Your thoughts?
Oh, what are you doing?
Right?
Why are you doing this to me?
And I couldn't even respond to it because nobody even cares.
Darnay cares.
But yeah, Wawa is like Subway.
It's what
I know.
I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, it's like saying the San Diego Padres are like dinosaurs. Like, wait, what? It's not even a comp.
Oh no, it's not. It's a terrible comp.
Terrible.
No,
comp.
I do better than this, Jim.
I misspoke. I will say.
No, you didn't. Darnay, thank you, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
I'm sorry, Darnay.
I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it. Wawa's like Subway. All right, Jim's Backpage. Don't go anywhere. It's next. us 3 to 6, celebrating 1 year of San Diego Sports 760.
Have fun.
Well, Jim's at Wawa.
Eating Wawas.
Tomorrow, 3 to 6. Me, Fletch will be with me tomorrow. So join us tomorrow. Kevin AC will be on the show, getting you ready for a weekend down at Petco Park. Jim will be back theoretically.
We'll see.
Next week.
We'll see if I'm back. I'll bring you Wawa. I'll bring both of you.
Don't do that.
I'll bring both of you some Wawa.
We don't want like a day-old Wawa. We want like fresh.
Okay. I can buy it that day. I can bring it back that night.
Let's get to it.
What would you do, both of you, if you found a random bag of cash, let's just say $5,000, in a parking lot at like a grocery store?
I know I'd freak out and and I'd like call the police, but Kristen would be like, "Don't tell anyone."
Mm-hmm.
But I would like call the police.
I wouldn't call the police. I've seen that movie. That was a Cusack movie. The money belongs to the mob. You take it and you run.
So okay, so yeah, I don't know. $5,000, maybe you take it. What if it was like $1 million?
Dude,
Then take that too.
well,
But like, is that cool?
actually, it's not cool because a man in Connecticut is being criminally charged after finding a bag filled with nearly $5,000 in a parking lot at a grocery store and then spending the money. And the money is reportedly tax receipt funds. So it's $5,000 in town tax receipt funds. He was charged with third-degree larceny and reportedly admitted to the police he believed he had no obligation to return the bag to its rightful owner.
Well, is there an obligation? If there's a $5 bill on the ground, am I obligated to go tell someone? At what point does that stop? 20, 50, 100?
A local tax collector office employee had reportedly been on their way to deposit this money at a bank. But when they arrived, they couldn't find the money bag.
Well, maybe they shouldn't leave it in a parking lot.
It just was in a parking lot. This man said he found it in a parking lot with nobody around. He took it, ended up spending the money, got caught because the dollars are like, you could like trace the money.
See, that's the thing. That's why I would call the police.
You trace the money, and then he's now getting charged for it.
That's why you wait. Dude's never seen Goodfellas. You don't go and buy everything.
Right. How long
away.
did you
It's like
wait,
that dude
though?
that bought the car is like, what are you doing?
So what do you do? Wait a decade or something?
This man
I
talked
don't know.
with local reporters.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "This is like a crock of baloney. I found money, and now it's probably going to cost me money."
You win some, you lose some. So now he's going to go to jail, or just if he took $5,000, he owes $5,000 type situation?
I don't know. He might. But man, that's a tough call because, dude, if I find a bag of money and there's nobody around,
I'm with you.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to be like, my first instinct, just telling the truth, is not to go and try and find who this owner. I mean, I might not just like quickly take it. I might stand there for a minute and like see if anybody around is like, oh no, that's my, but I don't know, man. $5,000 and
What if you just took like 600 of it and left the rest? Would that be okay? You can't take money, I guess, that's just found.
Guess, yeah. Just can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Burger King, John, must face a lawsuit claiming it falsely advertised the size of Whoppers. A judge in Miami rejected the fast food chain's attempt to dismiss a lawsuit that claims it's tricked customers by misrepresenting the size of its signature Whopper in advertisements. The plaintiffs claim that Burger King is portraying a Whopper that is not what they're getting at actual Burger Kings.
Then you should be able to sue every restaurant because I have never bought a burger at McDonald's that looks like the burger in the commercials.
I
or
will
Burger
say,
King at Carl's or anywhere. None of them
all
ever
the
look like the
cereal.
commercials. Yes, exactly.
Pizza.
I will say though, Brent, there is an occasional one-off that I've gotten a burger from McDonald's that happens to be a perfect bun. You know what I'm talking about? Cheeseburger. And it's not like the cheese is like falling out the side. And
I never get that.
Yeah, because the bun look is like
yes,
plump and fresh as it looks on television.
Sometimes
seeds on top.
It has happened before. I'm like, ooh, this bun is
Coke
great.
in the top of it. And...
I mean, who goes to Burger King and is like, oh, I was expecting the world's most reputable burger this evening.
This like flaming young?
Like, dude, it was $3.
Dude, you haven't been to Burger King in a while.
I've never.
I've been to Burger King in a long time.
It's $5.99.
Finally, a Barbie versus Bratz. Remember the Bratz dolls? Anybody? No. Bratz dolls. Barbie versus Bratz TV series is in the works.
How do you Bratz for boys or girls?
It's just the Bratz. Like
I don't remember.
They're like the what is it? The outlandish dolls. Like the Barbie's like the perfect everything Barbie doll, and then the Bratz are like the hip what up?
Hip what up?
So Barbie versus Bratz is coming soon, potentially to CBS.
Don't miss it. All right, if you miss anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube by searching for John and Jim 760. You can follow us on social media at John and Jim, JONANDJIM. We'll be at the Blind Burrow tomorrow. Join us. Jim will be in Philly. Enjoy your Wawa.
I will.
All right, for Brent and Jim, it's our 1-year anniversary show tomorrow. Without Jim, join us at 3.
See you next week.
It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.